The flickering fluorescent lights of the small neighborhood pharmacy buzzed faintly, casting long shadows across the worn-out shelves lined with medicine. Anjali clutched her baby closer to her chest, her thin arms trembling not just from exhaustion, but from fear. The little boy's forehead was burning hot against her skin, his breath shallow, whimpering with every exhale. She stepped to the counter, her voice shaking. "Please, I need medicine for fever. He hasn't stopped burning since last night." The pharmacist glanced at her with tired eyes, then scanned the prescription. "That will be 1,200 rupees. Anjali froze. Her hands instinctively searched the pocket of her faded kurta, pulling out a few crumpled notes and coins. She counted them once, twice. Her heart dropped. She was nearly 400 rupees short. Tears welled up, spilling over as she placed the money on the counter anyway. "Please, sir, take this. I will bring the rest tomorrow. Just, please, my baby needs this medicine tonight." The pharmacist shook his head coldly. "I'm sorry, rules are rules. Come back when you have the full amount." Her knees nearly buckled under her. The world spun, and the noise of the street outside blurred into the pounding of her heart. She clutched her baby tighter, whispering, "Shoo, Mama will fix this. Don't cry, my little one." Her voice cracked, and right there at the counter, she broke down, sobbing quietly, her body shaking with helplessness. What Anjali didn't notice was the man standing just a few steps behind her in line. He had been silent, his tall frame dressed in a sharp, tailored suit that looked out of place in the small, crowded pharmacy. His name was Arjun Malhotra, a man known to the world as a billionaire entrepreneur. But here, he was just another customer, until he saw the desperation in Anjali's eyes. For a moment he froze. Something about her trembling voice, the way she shielded her child with her whole being, struck a chord deep inside him. Memories of a night from long ago stirred in his heart, memories he had tried to bury. He stepped forward, his voice low yet firm. "Give her the medicine. Put it on my bill." Anjali turned, startled, her tear-streaked face meeting his calm, steady gaze. She had no idea who he was, only that a stranger had just stepped into the darkest moment of her life. Arjun looked at her baby, then back at her. His next words carried a weight that made her breath hitch. "Come with me now." I carried my feverish baby in my trembling arms, still stunned by what had just happened. The stranger's voice was firm yet kind, his presence so commanding that even the pharmacist had gone silent. He walked beside me, guiding me out of the store, as if he had already decided something on my behalf. "Your child needs a hospital, not just medicine," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. I hesitated, clutching little Ariv closer to my chest. His skin was burning, his small body weak and restless. My eyes filled with tears. "But I can't afford," I whispered, ashamed to even finish the sentence. That's when he stopped walking and turned to look at me. His gaze was steady, not judging, not pitying, but something I had never seen before. It was as if he could see through the layers of my struggle, straight into my breaking soul. "You don't have to," he said simply. "Come with me." I followed him outside, my heart racing with both fear and hope. A sleek black car waited at the curb, and the driver immediately stepped out to open the door. I froze. Who was this man? Why was he helping me? People like him didn't stop for women like me, tired, poor, invisible. "Please," he said softly this time, gesturing to the car. His voice no longer carried authority but compassion, as if he understood my hesitation. With trembling steps, I got inside. The air-conditioned car was worlds away from the suffocating heat outside. Ariv whimpered in my arms, his small fingers clutching weakly at my clothes. My eyes brimmed with tears as I stroked his hair, whispering prayers under my breath. The man sat across from me, silent for a few minutes, watching with an intensity that made my heart pound. Finally, he spoke. "What's your name?" "Anjali," I answered, my voice barely audible. "And your son?" "Ariv." He nodded, his expression unreadable. "I'm Arjun." The name struck me. It sounded powerful, yet there was a gentleness in the way he said it. We rode in silence after that, except for the soft cries of my baby. My thoughts swirled in chaos. Fear of the unknown, disbelief at the situation, and a fragile spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, Ariv would be saved. When the car stopped in front of a massive hospital, my breath caught in my throat. Not the public hospital I was used to, with long queues and neglected patients. This was private, luxurious, something I had only seen from afar. Arjun got out first and extended his hand toward me. For a moment, I stared at it, unsure if I should trust him. But then Ariv whimpered again, and my mother's heart made the choice. I placed my hand in his. His grip was strong, steady, reassuring. And for the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't alone. The drive felt endless. Anjali sat in the back seat with her baby cradled in her arms. The hum of the car engine mixing with the faint lullabies she whispered to soothe her feverish child. Arjun sat across from her, his gaze steady but unreadable. Every few moments, his eyes would flicker toward the child, softening just slightly, as if something about the little boy stirred a memory buried deep within him. When the car finally stopped, Anjali's mouth parted in shock. Before her stood a mansion unlike anything she had ever imagined. Tall, elegant, and glowing against the night sky. Chandeliers sparkled through massive windows, and the driveway curved like something out of a storybook. She clutched her baby closer, her heart hammering. Why am I here? Why would someone like him bring me here? Arjun stepped out first, holding the car door open for her. "Don't be afraid," he said quietly, his voice lower now, almost gentle. "This house may look intimidating, but you and your son are safe here." Inside, the mansion was warm, filled with the faint scent of fresh flowers and polished wood. A doctor was already waiting in the grand hall, summoned before they even arrived. He took the baby carefully, checking his temperature, breathing, and pulse. "Just a fever, nothing alarming," the doctor assured her after a thorough check. "But he needs rest, proper food, and medicine. He'll be fine." Relief washed over Anjali like a tide, and tears she had been holding back finally spilled over. She sank to the velvet couch, burying her face in her baby's blanket. Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. Arjun stood nearby, his hands in his pockets, his eyes locked on her. He had seen countless business negotiations, ruthless competitors, and greedy faces over the years. But this raw, selfless love of a mother fighting for her child, it disarmed him. "Stay here tonight," Arjun said finally, his tone firm. "It's too late to go back. The staff will prepare a room for you." Anjali's head snapped up, alarm flickering in her eyes. I can't. I don't belong here. People like me, we don't step into places like this." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, with a faint, almost pained smile, Arjun replied, "And people like me, we often forget what truly matters." She didn't know what he meant, but she felt the weight in his words. And for the first time since she met him, Anjali realized, behind the billionaire's polished suit and sharp gaze, there was a loneliness he tried to hide. That night, as she laid her baby in a golden crib prepared in the guest room, she whispered a silent prayer, not just for her child, but for the strange, enigmatic man who had appeared in her darkest hour. Little did she know, both their lives had just taken a turn neither could have foreseen. Anjali thought her life had already turned upside down. But that night, she realized her journey had just begun. After the doctor's visit, Arjun insisted she and the baby shouldn't return to the cold, leaking room she called home. "You can't stay there tonight," he said firmly. His tone was gentle, but his eyes left no room for refusal. I don't want to trouble you," Anjali whispered, clutching her baby closer. She felt both gratitude and fear. Gratitude for his kindness, but fear of the unknown. Who was this man really? "You're not troubling me. You're giving me a chance," Arjun replied softly. "A chance to do something right." He drove her to a quiet estate outside the city. The gates opened automatically, and Anjali's eyes widened as the car rolled into a property that looked like a dream. A mansion, surrounded by sprawling gardens lit with warm golden lights, stood proudly against the night. Her heart pounded. "Why are you doing this for me?" she finally asked, her voice trembling. Arjun glanced at her and then at the baby sleeping in her arms. "Because once I was in your place. I know what it feels like to be helpless, and someone helped me when I needed it most. Now it's my turn." Inside, the staff rushed to welcome Arjun. They bowed respectfully, but their curious glances at Anjali didn't go unnoticed. She felt out of place, her worn sari clashing with the luxury surrounding her. He led her to a guest room, larger than her entire home. The bed was soft, the curtains thick, the air warm and comforting. Anjali placed her baby down gently, tears filling her eyes. The child slept peacefully for the first time in days. Arjun lingered at the doorway. "Rest," he said quietly. "Tomorrow we'll talk. There's something I want to tell you." Her curiosity deepened, but exhaustion pulled her under. As she drifted to sleep, she wondered who Arjun really was. Why did a man with a mansion and staff look at her with such understanding? She didn't know the truth yet, that the man who had rescued her was not just wealthy, but one of the most powerful billionaires in the country. And soon, her life would be tied to his in ways she never imagined. The mansion had become strangely warm in those days. What once echoed with silence and loneliness now carried faint sounds of life. The baby's soft giggles, the clink of cups when Anjali made tea in the morning, even the faint melodies she hummed absent-mindedly while folding laundry. Arjun found himself listening more than speaking. He, the billionaire used to boardroom battles and corporate deals, now sat quietly at the edge of the nursery just to hear Anjali tell her daughter bedtime stories. Her voice carried a tenderness money could never buy. One evening, as rain lashed against the tall windows, Arjun walked into the kitchen. He stopped short when he saw Anjali standing by the counter, her head bent low. She was holding a tiny pair of worn shoes in her hands. Silent tears slipped down her face. "Anjali?" he asked softly. She startled, wiping her eyes quickly, embarrassed. I'm sorry. It's silly. These were the shoes I bought when I was still pregnant. They don't even fit her anymore. But they remind me of everything I fought through." Arjun walked closer, his voice unusually gentle. "It's not silly. It's strength. Your strength. You've given her more love than most children ever know." Anjali's lips trembled, but she looked into his eyes. Eyes that, for the first time, weren't just sharp and commanding, but deeply human. "You've given us more than I could ever repay," she whispered. Arjun shook his head firmly. "No, you've given me something I could never buy. A reason to care again." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the storm outside. Then, slowly, Arjun reached out and touched her hand. His palm was warm, steady. She didn't pull away. It was the first unspoken promise between them. That night, as the baby slept peacefully, Anjali sat awake thinking. She had walked into that pharmacy with empty pockets and a sick child, weighed down by despair. Now she stood inside the home of a man whose name commanded power across nations. And yet, when she looked at him, she no longer saw the billionaire. She saw a man with a scarred heart, as lost as she once had been. And for the first time in years, she dared to wonder, was this the beginning of something more? The next morning, Anjali awoke to the sound of birds outside the balcony of a room she never thought she'd sleep in. Her son was curled up peacefully beside her, his fever gone, cheeks rosy and soft. For the first time in weeks, she didn't wake with fear. No landlord pounding on the door, no nurse demanding payment, no emptiness clawing at her chest. Just silence, warmth, and safety. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching the sunlight creep across the room. Her eyes filled with tears. How did my life change overnight? Was this all a dream? Then the door opened. Arjun walked in, holding a tray with steaming tea and a plate of fresh bread. He smiled, a softness in his eyes that no business rival had ever seen. "You should eat," he said gently. "Your son is safe now, and so are you." Anjali stood, embarrassed, clutching her faded scarf. I don't know how to thank you. I don't deserve this. I'm just a mother," Arjun interrupted firmly. "And that's the most powerful thing anyone can be." His words broke her. She covered her face with trembling hands, and he stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I told you last night, Anjali," he said quietly. "You don't have to fight alone anymore." She lowered her hands and met his eyes. There was no pity there, only respect. Days turned into weeks. Arjun arranged the best doctors for her son, ensured Anjali had a place to live, and even offered her training to join his company. At first, she resisted. A billionaire and a poor widow, what would people say? But Arjun never pushed. He only encouraged her to see her worth. One evening, as the city lights sparkled below his penthouse balcony, he stood beside her. "I've built empires," he said softly, "but none of it means anything if I can't share it with people who have real hearts. You reminded me of that." Anjali turned to him, startled. "Why me?" she whispered. Arjun looked at her, his voice steady. "Because you cried in that pharmacy not for yourself but for your child. And I realized in that moment, you are stronger than anyone I know." Her breath caught. For the first time since her husband's death, she allowed hope to flicker in her heart. Arjun extended his hand slowly. "Anjali, walk with me, not as someone I saved, but as someone I admire. Someone He paused, his gaze unwavering. "Someone I might just be falling for." Tears welled in her eyes again. But this time, they weren't from pain. She placed her hand in his. "Yes, Arjun, I'll walk with you." Behind them, her son laughed in his sleep. A sound so pure, it felt like the universe itself was blessing their new beginning. And so, under the glow of the city lights, a poor girl and a billionaire discovered that sometimes, the most powerful riches are found not in wealth, but in love, hope, and the courage to believe in tomorrow.